98% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't lived the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and damn, they sent me where the life is be. The level forward depth and fight the type of shit they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die, you chump. I've never been a bitch, but damn, it's scary when that pride jump. I seen dudes cry, get punked, and some sexually brutalized. I knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, bulldogs and skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF and Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. The Northerners was loony, quick to ride up on their rivals. Even Christians went to church, hot knives up in their Bibles. Political and tribal, the Crips and Don moves, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IEs, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pie rules, the Hoosters quick to roll, the Gangsta Crips move. Whatever clique you choose, you better stick to the rules. Anybody can get hit, so never get the shit confused. Dudes big as Terry Crews screaming running for the guard. When your pistol gone, the shoe gon' still be hard.
Say, what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down! Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. Yeah, that's me gassing on the intro like I keep telling y'all. The flow is nothing like Curtis Blow. If you want to check out my music, I got a song called Never Gave Me Therapy. It's on all streaming sites. And also, you can go to my YouTube playlist, scroll down to gas stations, and you'll find a lot of my music there. Now, let's hop right up into this story. So this story takes place in 95, 96 in the county jail known as the Robert Presley Detention Center. Now, at that point in time, I'm on the 3rd floor 3A, which was the Crip Tank. Now, of course, in order to get to the Crip Tank, you got to hop on the elevator. You go upstairs. I believe when you get off the elevator, you would go right. You go down this long tunnel. Then eventually, you would come into this big oval-shaped control booth that the sheriff said in the control booth. Now, on the 3rd floor, there was 3 pods up there. And, of course, from this control booth, the guard could see each pod. Now, these pods look like something similar that you would see on a show like 60 Days In. Now, 3A was the Crip Tank. 3B, they had the Whites or the Woods. And 3C, they had the Southern Mexicans. So, of course, in order to get into 3A, you would have to be buzzed through. It was a sliding door, and then you'd come through the door, and I can't remember exactly. It may have been anywhere from 6 to 8 metal tables. You know those tables that's fastened to the ground. Then they also have the 4 seats sticking out attached going around in a circle so we could eat, write letters, play cards, so on and so forth. I don't remember exactly either, but on the bottom, I think it may have been anywhere from 10 to 12 cells. Those cells were 2-man cells, and then also it was 10 to 12 cells on the top. Now, the cells was relatively small with the exception of cell number 1, the first cell on the bottom, and then the cell number, whatever number that was, directly above number 1 on the top tier. Now, those cells was extremely big, and I believe that they was probably built in mind for dudes who may have to come in there and needed a wheelchair or something like that. So a lot of times, due to those cells being extremely spacious, we would use those cells to go fight in because, of course, if dudes got into a fight outside in the day room in full view in front of the guard, everybody would be locked down. We wouldn't be out to watch TV, so on and so forth, right? So now when I get in there, if you guys have been keeping up with my stories, I told you that I ran into and I met a dude who I did a story on titled The Biggest Crip I Ever Saw. And that dude, his name was Dan Tanner. He was from a Crip gang in Long Beach known as Insane, the Long Beach Insanes. And he before he got down to Riverside County, actually had been doing state time, and he was at a prison, I believe, by the name of Donovan, and he had been charged with a old case in Riverside. He had been brought down and put in 3A. Now, this dude was probably about, I want to say 6'3", probably about 255, humongous dude, man, probably had some 20-inch arms. He was very, very muscular because at that time, the California prison system still allowed prisoners to lift weights. And so he lifted weights a whole lot. This dude was agile, could fight, play basketball, backflip, which was extremely amazing for a dude of his size, And so he said that he was lifting about 500 pounds. Man, this dude was an extremely big dude, So he was up in there. There also happened to be a lot of Crips from Trey Gangsta Crip, who I guess had been out in Riverside, hustling, getting bread. Some of the dudes I ran across was a Crip by the name of Touche, Blue Eyes, Rodan, Big Kool-Aid, Little Kool-Aid. It was several Trey Gangsta Crips up there, And even though this was a Riverside Crip tank, it was a lot of LA based Crips in this particular tank. So I'm up in there, doing whatever I'm doing. And like I said, my next door neighbor, he happened to be up in there. He had done time at another prison somewhere, and him and Dan Tanner had got extremely close. And so by my next door neighbor speaking with Dan Tanner about me, so once I got up in there, Dan Tanner actually took a liking to me, and we eventually got pretty cool, So like I said, man, Dan Tanner was extremely big, and even before they moved me to 3A, the guard who was doing the moves asked me, "Hey man, do you get along with?" And he called Dan Tanner by his last name, and I'm like, "No, I don't even know who that is." He like, "Oh, okay, that's the big dude, man, the big Crip from Insane. So you want to make sure that you guys, don't have no problems before I send you up in there." I'm like, "Oh, I don't even know him. It's good, right?" So eventually, yeah, I got up there, we got pretty cool, And so, like I said, though, I say all that to say, even the guards was extremely fearful of this dude, and he pretty much had the run of Riverside County Jail as far as what they would allow prisoners to do, because he had been through there a time or two, and every time he came through, he was wreaking havoc, right? And so they was pretty much out of his way. So he was a porter. A porter is basically kind of like a janitor. You come out, you sweep up a little bit, you clean off the tables, and it just gives you a little bit more time out of your cell to go hop on the phone and all this old type of stuff. Now, also once a week in Riverside County Jail, I believe it was on a Wednesday, we would be allowed to change our clothes, our bedding, get new boxers, t-shirts, so on and so forth. So he also would do that, and he would go from floor to floor. It would be a few guards there, and they would have these carts, and we drop our old stuff in the cart, and then we tell them what size boxer t-shirts that we would want, and they would give us new boxers and t-shirts, right? So he would do that as well. So on one day in particular, he is turning in, giving the prisoners up in there their fresh laundry. Now, he happens to have a dude with him by the name of Squeak. Now, Squeak was from Rollin 60s. Now, for those of you guys who know about, the California gang history, there will be often animosity between dudes who fall up under the gangster car and dudes who fall up under the neighborhood car, which Rollin 60s is a neighborhood, right? And so, as they're up on the 5th floor passing out laundry, now just so happened 5A, which is the 5th floor, 5A also happened to be a Crip tank. But that was a tank for dudes who had either came down from prison or Crips who had been to prison before, And so as they're passing out the laundry, Dan Tanner tells me this later, it's a Crip, and I'm going to just call him Ballhead. Ballhead was from Trey Gangsta Crip. Now, Ballhead was probably about 6'2", 6'3", maybe about 235 pounds, 240 pounds. He was just a big dude who was fat. He wasn't muscular or anything like that, right? And so he happens to see Squeak, and he go to woofing. Hey, when I see you, man, I'm going to do this to you. He being disrespectful, cussing. He talking a gang of stuff. So, Dan Tanner like, hey, man, who you talking to, homie? Who you? He's trying to step forward, and so, Ballhead from Trey, he say, "No, I ain't talking to you, homie. I'm talking to that dude you got with you." And he started disrespecting his hood and all types of crazy stuff. So of course, when he started doing that, Squeak, he started, talking, and they barking back and forth. So, the guards is wondering like, damn, what's going on? So the guards shut down that particular day room, said, "Okay, everybody go lock it up, man. Go lock it up. We'll come back here later." And so they moved him on to another floor or whatever to continue to pass out laundry. So later on, once they get back to the dorm, Dan Tanner, he tell me all this. He tell me about it. He said, "Oh man, yeah, the boy from Trey, man, he was disrespecting Squeak, and he want to see him, and so on and so forth. Whatever. Okay, so we just, of course, we locked up. We still doing county time, fighting our cases. We going on about the daily routine of being locked in county jail. Now, maybe about 3 months later, we look up one day, it's 2 or 3 new dudes coming up in 3A, coming up in the Crip tank. Now, one of them, of course, happens to be Ballhead from Trey. So now when Baldhead come up in there, at some point in time, his homies see him. His homies go over there. They take him to his cell. He put his stuff away or whatever. So now, of course, those dudes who are in the know, they automatically thinking that Baldhead from Trey and Squeak from 60s is going to get into it. Now, Squeak is probably about 5'9", probably about 245 pounds, 250 pounds. Squeak was fat. It ain't no nice words. It ain't no nice way to put it or nothing like that, man. Squeak was big as all outdoors, right? So Squeak had probably been up in there about a year and a half fighting a murder or whatever, and he up in there eating a lot of soups and all that old type of stuff. And the boy was big, The boy he definitely was a health risk to his own damn self, you know what I'm saying? Now, just so happened, I had met Squeak on the streets. We happened to run across each other at a studio in Moreno Valley that I used to frequent, right? And also Squeak and his brother had been out in Bannon several times out there, Actually, Squeak's brother was shot and killed out there in Bannon by the police in maybe about 90, 91, somewhere up in there. I actually used to see Squeak's brother a lot walking up and down the street, and he'd have on some khakis and a big old long t-shirt, and he would always have this thing poking out of his right side. Now, I thought it was a colostomy bag. So one day, I'm coming down the street, and I see him walking. He's walking in the direction that I'm going. So I said, "Hey, what's up, homie? You want to ride?" He's like, "Yeah." So he hop in and stuff. I'm like, "Hey, man, where you going?" He tell me up the street to the store. So I'm driving up the street. When we get to the store, he tell me, "Okay, good looking out, homie." So he takes which I'm thinking is a colostomy bag, but I see now this dude got a big old giant Tech 9. You know what I'm saying? So he take the, I guess when he got in, he had took it out so he could sit down. So he tuck it back in and get out and, walk on up in the store. Now I'm thinking like, damn, that dude is crazy, right? Because that was kind of outrageous for those times, especially in Bannon, just walking up and down the street, with a Tech 9 clearly visible poking out of the side of your shirt, right? Unfortunately for him, later on, he was shot and killed. He was in a hotel with this girl by the name of Barbara. Barbara happened to be good friends with my cousin Renee. And I guess it was late at night. The police came, knocked on the door, kicked in the door. I guess Squeak's brother grabbed a 38, started shooting, and the police returned fire. In the ensuing gunfight, he was shot and killed. Later on, I happened to run across Barbara at my mother's house because, like I said, Barbara was close friends with my cousin Renee. Barbara actually had got shot 4 or 5 times herself in the leg. And so she explained the situation to me and told me what happened. She said when the police came in there and got her and took her out, they were still in there shooting on Squeak's brother. So yeah, as we up in there, like I say, cats that's in the know is expecting Squeak and Baldhead to get into it. But I believe Baldhead's homeboy, Touche, who happened to be in there at the time, he told Baldhead, "Hey man, kick back," because for whatever reason, Baldhead had a problem with Squeak. But anybody who knows anything about the LA, gang history, while you may have the Treys and the Rollin 60s not necessarily get along because of one falls up under the Gangsta car and the other falls up under the Hooster car, they're definitely not within close proximity to each other. So it's not like they are, going at it on a regular basis. So for whatever reason, man, I believe Touche told Baldhead to kind of just stand down, and so while he's up in there, though, you still can see that Baldhead has some animosity. He has some animosity towards Squeak, and so eventually it looks like they eventually gonna get into it, because sometimes in situations like that, dudes will sometimes kind of look for reasons so you can call him out for a fight, you know what I'm saying? And so I remember one time we was up in there, man, and in the county jail, they give us wooden dominoes. So, of course, if you slam in the dominoes, they gonna break, man. The dominoes was real thin. And it was hard to get more dominoes. And so Dan Tanner had got a set of dominoes, and he, because he used to like to gamble and play dominoes. So he had got a set. He would keep them in his cell, right? And so they asked him if they could use the dominoes. And he was like, "Yeah, go ahead, man. Just don't slam them and break them, And so they over there get to playing dominoes. And when I say they, I'm talking about Baldhead and somebody else. They over there playing dominoes, and they slamming the dominoes. And Dan Tanner tell him, "Hey, homie, you slamming the dominoes, man. Don't break them, homie, because we can't get no more." You know what I'm saying? And They say, all right, so they keep playing. They ball head still over there slamming. 20, 15. Dan Tanner said, hey, homie, didn't I tell you about slamming the domino, man? Hold up. He went over there, took the dominoes, put the dominoes up in a box and said, yeah, homie, give me these dominoes. You don't act like you don't hear what I'm saying. Give me the dominoes. Ball head was like, man, I ain't tripping. He didn't take them from me. He didn't take them from me. So, definitely didn't nobody want no problems with Dan Tanner up in there, right? So now fast forward, man, maybe about, I don't know, maybe a few weeks later, Squeak and his partner, whoever his partner was at that particular time, was gambling and playing cards, pinochle, against Ballhead and his partner, despite the animosity that Ballhead had towards Squeak, right? So they over there, they playing pinochle, they doing their thing or whatever. Then all of a sudden, Ballhead just stand up and go to talking crazy. He go to talking big mess, big mess is Squeak, calling him all type of busters and cowards and whatever. Squeak like, man, who you talking to? He like, I'm talking to you, Buster, and all this old type of stuff. So he said, yeah, let's go catch that fade. Let's catch that fade. Or whatever, whatever he said back, whatever was the terminology back then. So now he go up the stairs. He said, yeah, come on down here, homie. Come see me. He goes down the tier and goes into the big cell that we would use to sometimes fight at. So like Squeak like, yeah, whatever, it ain't no problem. So Squeak, he walks upstairs. Now as he's walking upstairs, Squeak starts taking off his orange jumpsuit, sets his jumpsuit on the ground. Now Squeak is just walking back and forth on the tier in nothing but his boxers. So as he's walking back and forth a few times, Dan Tanner said, hey, Squeak, cuz, what's up, homie? You gonna go catch the fade, man? You walking back and forth like you want the guard or somebody to see you, because Squeak is actually in full view of the guard. So you like, hey, homie, what's up? What you doing, homie? You want the guard to see you and tell everybody to lock it up? If you gonna fight him, go up in there and fight him. Squeak like, yeah, don't trip, homie. I'm just go up in there. Yeah. But it did look like Squeak was, Squeak was scared of the dude. Squeak was hesitant to go up in there and fight. Because like I said, man, Squeak was only 5'9", and he probably was about 250, 260. But this dude was enormously fat, Now the other dude was fat too, but he was taller. He had probably about 4 or 5 inches on Squeak. So Squeak walks down there, he goes up in there, and all of a sudden you hear that noise, that that distinctive fighting in the cell and stuff. They in there squabbling, dooga dooga, boogada 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 boogada. Then all of a sudden they go quiet. Then the door open and Squeak walk up out of there. He walk on the tier. He say 6-0, throw his hands up like that, 6-0. You know what I'm saying? He walked back down, pick his jumpsuit up, put his jumpsuit on, come on downstairs, And so somebody go over there and ask, Squeak eventually what happened. Like, oh yeah, he couldn't see me, homie. Yeah, he couldn't see me. I was boop bop, hit him with that looping left and put him to bed. You know what I'm saying? So eventually, Ballhead, he come up out of there. He come downstairs, he go talk to his homies, whatever, and that's where it stayed, So then I look up maybe about 2-3 days later. I look up 2 or 3 days later, and Squeak and Ballhead are over there playing cards again, So that's how it is. Sometimes in the county jail, dudes be fighting, man. Dudes is up in their face in time. Some dudes is stressing. Some dudes is mad. They want to get these gang beefs out the way. It is what it is, man. Sometimes it's like that, man. And eventually, Squeak ended up getting convicted. He ended up getting a life sentence. Actually, Squeak was convicted of killing a dude who I grew up with, a white dude by the name of Dallas. We was actually on the same Little League baseball team, the Mets. We actually went 20-0 that year. We was undefeated. So if my memory serves me right, Squeak ended up getting somewhere around 35 to life or 38 years to life, somewhere around there. As far as I know, he's still locked up today. The other dude, Ballhead, I don't believe he ended up getting life, but he ended up going to prison as well. Don't quote me on this because I'm not 100% sure about this, but I heard that he eventually was down in Cashapp, and sometimes when dudes who was non-affiliates or whatever would go out to the yard, he was a porter as well. And he would tell the guard, hey, man, open this cell. I got to go in here and get this and go in there and get that. And he would go in there and steal their property and stuff like that. And eventually I heard that he ended up getting stabbed behind that. But like I say, do not quote me on that because I was not there and I'm not 100% sure about that. But anyway, you already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to life. Resume normal program.